thing that we can do is discern their motives by their actions and
know them by their fruits.
Exactly. And so as I'm looking into this picture and I find out that, of course, all of these stars that we're looking at with Britney, Christina Aguilera, Lindsay Lohan, Hannah Montana, these are all Mouseketeers. They're all straight from Walt Disney World. So as we start to look at this picture, we realize that Walt Disney was a high-level Freemason that was hired by J. Edgar Hoover, who was a 33rd degree Freemason. They hired Walt Disney as a Mason to instill mind pattern programming into us and into the children. And so as we see all of his different movies that bring about different
And now
ideas,
they've been caught. They put phalluses.
Exactly.
All
Little Mermaid.
Everywhere. It's everywhere. All of them.
Absolutely. So let's have a look at Walt Disney World. What is this? What are we looking at? Well, what we find is that every ride in Walt Disney World is, of course, sponsored by a military-industrial corporation, which will be holding a Masonic symbol as their seal.
And they have the future cities and how you're going to live, and everybody's got to have an RFID bracelet and be thumbprinted to get in.
Exactly.
All an indoctrination center, all a temple.
Yes, exactly. You get into Space Mountain, and you come off of RCA Space Mountain, and then they use predictive programming to tell you what your future will hold. And so they're telling us constantly what our future will be. And now you go through a roller coaster like Space Mountain and you get somewhat traumatized, and then they use this to program you. They do the same thing in films and all of Hollywood. Now, I'll tell you, the Georgia Guidestones are surrounded by Hollywood. That Seal of Solomon I was talking about in Nashville is surrounded by Hollywood, the holly plants. And these are their symbols of death and resurrection from the Druidic past. So we will find that the blockbusters, of course, are the Freemasons, or the Masons, they break the blocks.
And Hollywood's what they make the little wands out of.
Exactly. And
they use Harry Potter to indoctrinate everybody. All of this just boiling everyone, rendering them down in this huge occult language now being revealed.
Yes.
Why do they believe it has to be revealed now?
Well, I think they want us all on their page. I really am not sure, but they definitely have been gathering more and more people into this mindset as they open the Kabbalah to the public. And
now you keep saying Kabbalah. I mean, obviously, the Jews, the Israelites, wrote a lot of stuff down. So they picked up stuff out of Egypt, and then Solomon brought it in. They also went into captivity in Babylon, an amalgamation there. And I understand the modern rites all go back to Solomon, but I just want to be clear, it goes back to Egypt.
Absolutely. There is a reason there's a pyramid on our dollar bill. So absolutely, yes. The whole Y2K ceremony was a celebration of Horus.
Oh my gosh, I watched that on TV. Giant fire shooting out of the pyramids, huge movie projectors of demons hopping around. And they cut to London and Paris, and we worship you, anti-beast. Who is this anti-beast?
I hadn't heard of that. Oh. In London, they burnt the River Thames to the speed of the sun. This was their river Styx, and then when we got to America...
I mean, they're just doing wild, giant rituals in front of everyone.
In front of everyone.
And they're girding their police in these Darth Vader outfits, which Lucas will tell you that's an archetypal executioner or torturer. That's why, and then now police chiefs admit it's to intimidate you. These are the forces of death.
Yes. And that's what they're inculcating, is this police state of mind. And everybody's going, oh, I better not say anything, I better not get out of line. And this is exactly what
they want. And then they actually win. Yeah.
Exactly. This is exactly what they want from you, is for you to go back and hide and cower.
Don't just think you're in a black uniform and that you're going to getting away with me. You get death, too. They believe in being fair, don't they?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. They don't want their jackbooted thugs coming to get them. They need to get these men under control as well. So absolutely, everybody's going to suffer if this goes through.
Yeah, they're going to suffer real bad. Continue with what they want to turn the world into. Well, answer that question again. Who is the ruling council from your study? How many people are really in the inner council? Give us that pyramid power structure from your decades of research, Freeman.
Well, my studies have taken this story off planet, so I don't know if you're ready to go there.
But, let's just get to what they believe, and I understand they believe that too. But, for me, just in a secular, mechanical way, I already know much of what you're saying, but I like your perspective, and the reason I'm saying that is I know what he's saying is accurate, and he knows a lot. That's why we have Freeman here. But, I just want to get the basics of the power structure we can prove and the things that we know they're doing.
We have seen this tri-city state control with the Vatican, with the City of London, and with the District of Columbia, all of which have no nation. And we see that this power...
That's right, private. That's a key you just brought up. Explain that. You've got these three corporate blocks, these three squares,
yes.
And they dominate the planet. These are the kind of base, like if we're playing a game of tag. And Israel's now kind of a base, too. But there's three main ones where they can jump from square to square and that are sovereign corporate entities. Talk about that.
Absolutely. Well, the Vatican, of course, is the religious arm. The City of London is the economics, and then we're the military arm of this major globalization. This is something that it's been in power that long. These guys have been working towards this top production all this time. Well, when we look at the Georgia Guidestones, we see that the eugenics program is one of their main things. They have... What I see them doing, first of all, is, of course, they're the ones that came up with the nuclear missiles. They're the ones that were destroying matter. Now we have CERN and the grid that are trying to recreate matter and try to bust through to the other dimension. So as we look into these, they've been trying to get to this technological advanced state.
They want to be gods.
Yes. And then once they've achieved this, using all of us as their slave labor, then they intend to kill us all off. And that's where we're at today.
And that's stated in all their documents.
Yes. And so we watch as they are doing this occult practice, which is science to us today, of course, where they are first destroying matter, then creating matter, and trying to open a portal to the other side.
And that goes back to all the highest level Egyptian rituals.
Absolutely.
Death and rebirth.
Exactly. Those pyramids are frequency modulation devices. Just as we see on many of these structures, like the one I was talking about in Nashville, these are frequency modulation devices. HARP is a frequency modulation. And everything being frequency, that's what these people are after. But they needed all of us. They had to create an America in order to bring about the technological advancements necessary for their occult agenda. Looking at this picture that we don't fully understand because, well, we've been kept out of the loop. Certainly no.
But as you said, most of the Masons are low level. They don't know. Most of the occultists, they've got all the fake little subsidiaries. I want to talk about the penultimate top of the pyramid in the power structure. I know they believe there's gods and angels, up the rest of the circle. But I want to, the human element of what we can prove, what these lunatics believe. Then I want to talk about their master plan, and then more about their symbolism and where you see all this going with Freeman. We'll also open the phones up the last 20 minutes. This is just an introductory interview with you. We're going to have you back soon if you'll do it. Whatever you think is most important for people to know and understand and to see around them.
Now, these guys have been encoding things into these structures for millennia, as we had the Templars building the cathedrals and putting in sacred geometry to pass this knowledge down. We also find that a 33rd degree Freemason put a cross in Henday that was coded to show a major catastrophe coming up. Now, of course, I was saying I was at the Mayan ritual. They also believe that a major catastrophe is coming and will begin next year. And, of course, they've got their end date for 2012. What we find is that this Brotherhood are secretly encoding things into these structures and into different symbols that they put out. And like I said, I was at the Georgia Guidestones. Now, when you look at the Georgia Guidestones, of course, you've gone over this. They've got the rules of their new civilization on there about limiting the population of 500 million, creating a new world court, and a new living language. And as we start to look into language and the frequency and who created language for us, then that's a whole nother study. But what I noticed was that this structure, the Georgia Guidestones, is authored by R.C. Christian. And it says a pseudonym, which is a misspelling of pseudonym. And, that's not a mistake. This is code. And so when
Rosicrucians.
Exactly. R.C. Christian is code for Christian Rosenkreutz, who's the mythical founder of the Rosicrucian order. And when you start to get deeper and deeper into Freemasonry, you find that their deepest secrets are from these Rosicrucians. So that is why in Denver, capital, they have the rosy cross on their temple there. So they are encoding these things throughout time that we keep finding in these structures. And we'll find out what they want, and that is the death of all of us, easily, straight from their own works. This is something that you can follow back through generation after generation. There's a reason there's an obelisk in front of the Vatican, an obelisk in front